Okay, here's a reminder on how to do 1-point perspective. So, you're gonna start by creating a line across the center of your paper. Now, if you don't have a ruler, you can use just something straight, like I'm using the edge of this notebook here to create my center line. Now, with 1-point perspective, there's only 1 point. So we are gonna add our 1 point right in the middle here. We are gonna do a bird's eye view, worm's eye view, and normal eye view. So let's start down here. First thing we're going to do is we are going to create a box. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, we're having an earthquake. Okay, here we go. So, sorry about that. We're going to make a box on our paper down below our horizon line. So our horizon line is here. Now, we have a horizon line, and then we have this here, which is called our vanishing point. These are both extremely important in creating any sort of perspective drawing or anything that you're trying to make look realistic. Now, what we are going to do today is learn the basics to creating a 1-point perspective. So let me finish up this box here. And again, if you don't have a ruler, you can just use the edge of a notebook. I always like to line it up with either the edge of the paper or the horizon line to make sure that it is nice and straight. And then I go back and I will erase any lines or do any touch-ups that I need. So, once you have a box, what you're going to do is you are going to connect your corners to your vanishing point. So everything connects to the vanishing point. Now, I'm gonna connect this bottom corner to the vanishing point, but because it travels through our square, we actually won't need it, but for sake of the video, I'm gonna do it so that you can get that visual. So, when you're doing your orthogonal lines, or your converging lines, which is what these are called, you need to do them nice and light because you need to be able to erase them away. So these are our converging lines. Now, from here, I'm gonna draw all corners connecting to our vanishing point. I'm gonna draw them nice and light so I can make sure that I can erase them away, because the one thing we don't want in these realistic drawings is we do not want to see a bunch of lines pressed really hard into the paper. Okay, so here we have all of our lines. Now, just as a starting point, we aren't going to need this bottom line unless we were drawing maybe a glass box or something that you can see through. So I'm going to start by erasing that away. And in the other drawings, I will not include the line that is not needed. But for sake of you guys getting to see it, I wanted to put it in there. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I need to create 2 parallel lines. One that is parallel to this side, connecting this point, and one that is parallel to the top side, connecting this point and this point. So we are going to make parallel lines that create a right angle. So this 90-degree angle. Now, how we do that is you're going to take your ruler or straight edge, you're gonna line it up to your outside, and keeping your paper or your ruler right along the horizon line to ensure that you're going in a straight line, you're just gonna slide that out, and you're gonna decide how far you want to go. How far you pull out will determine how long your building is. So I'm just gonna make mine right about here, and I'm going to connect my converging lines with a vertical line. So see now how I have a line that is parallel here? Now, to create this parallel line, I'm gonna do the same thing but opposite, right? A little counterintuitive there. The same thing but the opposite direction. So I'm gonna line up to the top of my square. I'm gonna keep it lined up with the side of my paper to ensure that it is straight, and I'm gonna slide it up, and then you want to slide it until this other vertical line that you created. Then you will know that you're gonna have this perfect 90-degree angle. Now, at this point, you can start drawing the lines in darker because now you have your finished box. Okay, now for our converging lines, we don't need those any longer, so we can just go ahead and erase them all away. Now I'm gonna leave this one so that you guys can see the reference word of converging line. See, even as light as I pressed, it was a little bit too hard, so you can still see that line there. And I don't want that, so my other ones I'm gonna draw a little bit lighter, okay? Now this right here is what we call a bird's eye view. So you're up above and you're looking down onto the roof. So this is a bird's eye view. Okay, now we are gonna move on to a normal view. So if you're walking down the sidewalk and you look at a building, this is going to be the one-point perspective version of that scenario. So what I want you to do is create a box that is along our horizon line. So that means it's gonna go both above and below our horizon line. So here I'm going to create a box. Now, from here, I'm going to create my converging lines from this box to my vanishing point. Now, all of these boxes that we're gonna do are gonna connect to the same vanishing point. Now, since my back corner's here, we can line up our pencil and see that it would go through our square. So anything that's gonna go through our square, we don't want to do. So we're not gonna draw that line. What we are gonna do is we're gonna do our front corners because it does not drive through our square that we've already created. So I'm gonna connect my top and bottom corner. Oh, and I used hard pressure again, so I'm gonna have a hard time erasing that, but you guys at least know not to in this situation. Now, what's gonna happen here is we have this box and we have our lines that connect back. From here, what's gonna happen is we're gonna erase our horizon line that's in the middle of our square because we cannot see the horizon line through the buildings that we look like unless maybe it was an all glass building, but in this case, it is not. So we are going to erase it away. Now we're left with a box and two converging lines or two orthogonal lines. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same as we did here, and we're going to line up to the edge of our box, and we're going to slide it out to create the other side. So I'm going to go this way just because it's easier for you guys to see. Lining it up so it's parallel, meaning that this line and this line will never cross. And now I have my building. Now what's kind of cool about this, once we erase our horizon line and we erase our converging lines to leave the box standing by itself, what's kind of cool is that we can start to see how this would look realistically. So if I add this line back in, and I add this line back in, and then let's say I add this in here and this in here. Okay, now you can see what it would look like from a more realistic standpoint. Yeah, so these are the buildings sitting along the street that you're looking at. Okay? So that might be a helpful visual. Now, this was a bird's eye view. This is a normal view. And now up here, we're going to create what we call a worm's eye view. So this would be something like looking at the Seattle Space Needle or a tree house, something that is lifted that you can then see the bottom side of it. So we're gonna start by making a square, trying to make sure that it is parallel. Use our paper as a reference to line it up. Let me adjust this here, I need to be able to see. Okay. Now, from here, we can do our little test. So we can line our pencil up, and we know that if we do this back corner, it's gonna drive through our square, so we're not gonna do that one. But all of our 3 other points would not go through the square. So we are gonna add those lines in. So I'm gonna try and draw super light so I can erase them away. There's one. There's 2. There's 3. Okay. Now, same thing as we did with this one. We are going to create a parallel 90-degree angle. So we need one line parallel to here and one line parallel to here. We're gonna keep them within our converging lines. So we're gonna start with whatever side you'd like to start on. I'm gonna start on this side here. I'm going to slide out as far as I would like my building to be. And I'm going to connect my 2 converging lines. Okay, so it's parallel to this line here, but in between my converging lines that I created. Now, I know that this is going to be the start of my horizontal line here, so I'm going to line up to the edge of my box, slide down to where that meets, and create my horizontal line. Okay, then I can come in and add harder pressure to create darker lines. And then from there, I can erase away my converging lines, or my orthogonal lines. Okay, now this is not a bird's eye view. I was gonna write that again, worm's eye view. So again, this is as if we were doing like the Space Needle, right? Something like this, where it's connected to the Earth, but you can see the bottom side of it, okay? Or maybe if you had two tall buildings, this is the sky bridge that would go between the two, if you've ever walked through one of those. Okay, so this is a basic review of 1-point perspective. I look forward to seeing your work. Have a good day.